Well, Stephanie, welcome to the Intentions Podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here. I've low-key been looking forward to this since I started the podcast. I don't know if I told you that, but...
Yeah, we talked about it last year. Like, when was it? Probably in the summertime. I think it was in the summer. Yeah. Just, but this was before, like, you had even, like,
when it was theoretical.
Yeah, it was like, yeah. So it's really cool to see you here and to, I'm one of your number, like, I love the Intentions podcast. I listen to it all the time, like Spotify. What is it? The recap? The year Intentions is at the top.
I am so humbled because I think I've told you this before, but I remember like seeing you for the first time in our New Testament class. And for those of you who don't know, Stephanie can like rock one of those. What is it even called?
I think it's a fedora.
A fedora?
Yeah.
It was like a wide brim. Yeah. Anyway, I'm like, that girl is cool. I want to be friends with her. And then lo and behold, God sometimes answers prayers. But let's see, we've been going to the same church for 4 years now.
Yeah. Since 2022.
Yeah. You tolerated a little small group with me for a while. But tell us about yourself, Stephanie.
So just a little bit about me. I am, of course, from Georgia, from a small town there. I grew up, born and raised. I came to Kentucky in 2020 because I felt like God was calling me to seminary. And so I went through seminary, finished that in 2023. Worked as a librarian for a little bit of time.
True.
Yeah. And then recently I am transitioning, or I'm currently in the role of campus missionary, and I will be at the University of Kentucky and I'll be at Asbury University.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And you were briefly like a respiratory therapist, right?
I was a respiratory therapist. It was like a lifetime ago.
You've done it all.
Yeah. I actually practiced respiratory therapy for 6 years. So
okay.
Yeah. And I worked in a sleep lab. I did sleep studies.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's, we were just talking about this before, but the ADHD, like I just have so many things that I like to do. Like I was just telling Madeline, like I taught piano in high school and I crochet now. I like to needle felt.
Okay. I crochet now is like the biggest understatement I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
What's some of the most obscure animals you've made via crochet? There's a dinosaur in your car.
I just got a request for a bat.
Really?
A bat, yeah.
All
from
right.
a 7-year-old. A bat.
Oh,
yeah.
That's sweet.
A bat. So that's gonna be my first bat. I do a lot of common animals that you see like with crochet. So I do a lot of turtles, dinosaurs. I've done some octopus. Like, an octopus.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So a woman of many talents. Yep.
Yeah.
Come on. And I am really excited to have you on because not only are you like an amazing human being, incredibly brilliant seminarian, theologically sound woman, but your testimony and story of how God has met you is really cool and unique. And I think also incredibly powerful, maybe in hindsight for the moment that we're in culturally now. Yeah. And so let's just kind of get into it. What's your background with faith?
Yeah. So I always start a little bit at the beginning because I feel like it's just important. But I like to tell people when I was little, I was somebody who could talk to anybody. Like my mom she would just like always be afraid. She's like, someone's gonna take you because like I just like walk up to random strangers.
Hello.
like a full blown conversation. Like, so it was like that, like when I was really little. But when I was probably in first grade, I think it was first grade, my mom moved us to the country. And so I was in a different school, just around different people. Some of my family was still in the place that we moved to, but I think it was there where I began to experience a lot of just attack on my identity. So I was bullied a lot. I was teased a lot when I was in school. And for me, that was hard to understand because I was someone who just loved people and I was always just like, just bubbly. But I couldn't understand why are people doing this? Like they would talk about my hair. They would talk about my body. They would talk about like the clothes I wore, my personality, like everything about me. Like there was nothing, like it just felt like there was nothing good about me. And so I really began to kind of withdraw. Like I didn't talk. Like there were periods of time where, I like one of my teachers was like, does she talk? Like, you know, yeah. So it is so just as dramatic,
it's a huge
change.
Shift. Yeah.
A huge shift. And so, but meanwhile, I did grow up in the church. And what I'll say about that is that I think what I was learning at the time is how to go to church, what to do, some of the things to do, but I didn't know what a real relationship with God looked like. And so for me, I just thought of God as this man who's in the sky, like, you know, listening to my prayers sometimes. And so I would go home and pray like every night. You know, I didn't really know what I didn't know there's a format. I just kind of would go home and just ask God, like, hey, like, God, I don't want this to happen. Like, you know, just like very like innocent prayers of, can you make this stop? Like, you know, people, you know, all the stuff that's happening to me. And so it didn't stop. So I just kind of kept going through life like this. But my mom and my dad ended up separating not long after we moved. And so my brother went to live with my dad, and it was just, I don't know. It just kind of felt like that was also like hard for me because I come from a big family, like extended family. And now my, you know, immediate family, we're separating. And so that felt very hard for me. And even to feel like, okay, now I'm really going through this alone because my brother was like my older brother. And he would like, you know, be there to like help and speak up for me. And so he wasn't there anymore. But it wasn't until I would say high school. I have to give the details of this because I think it matters. But my brother passed away when I was in high school. I know you know that. But the way that it happened, I think this is what was a turning point in my faith journey. So I took a Latin class when I was in high school. I didn't take like Spanish or anything. I was like, okay, I'm a junior. I don't want to be in the class with freshmen. So like, what do I do?
I can low-key see that.
Yeah. And so I took Latin. And so there were 4 of us in that class with our teacher. But anyway, that morning, there you can hear through the walls because we were like in a library, but you can hear through the walls, and we often like heard reports before. But there was a security officer who basically took the call, and he's like, that kid died, you know, just kind of like we're hearing like these random things, and then he says the name, and it's my brother's name, but he doesn't say the last name. But I'm like, I just internally like know it's him.
You knew.
I know it's him. And in that moment, I was like, wow, I cannot believe this is happening to me. Like, why is this happening to me? You know, I try my best to be a good kid. Like, you know, I don't get in any trouble. Like, I do what I'm supposed to do. I think all these thoughts were going through my head of like, why is this happening? And it was almost a surreal moment where it felt like, is this real life? Like, am I dreaming? Like, you know? And so just to shape that up, I felt very alone. Like I felt like so alone in that moment at the time. And so after that, it's just kind of, I mean, it was really hard. Like a lot of grieving, like we grieve in different ways. My mom was noticeably different from my dad and I. Like she would, you know, she's a believer. My dad's not a believer, but my mom, she was sad. She was grieving, but there was something that was like, I could tell there was something that was holding her together. And I knew it was her faith, but I just couldn't understand why her faith was holding her together. Because I'm like, my mom has experienced so much loss. Like my mom herself experienced the loss of 3 kids. She had lost her sister at a young age, her parents at a young age. And so she's lost brothers and sisters. Like, you know, she's lost a lot. And so for me, I began to question, like, how can I believe this to be true? You know, this faith that I grew up in. And so I went to college, and I was kind of like in this place of, I still kind of believe, but I have a lot of questions, you know, but I didn't have anybody walking with me. But another turning point was I took this philosophy class, and, you know, like when you're a freshman, you take these classes with like 200, 300 people. There were so many people in this class. And so what's interesting is the professor chose groups to talk about or debate different philosophical topics. And I just so happened to be in the group that was to debate God, the existence of God. Does God exist? Does God not?
Very
not
timely.
Exist?
This feels like the God's Not Dead movie. Did you see that?
I'm just like, are you serious? Like, okay. So I ended up, he put me specifically, because we didn't get to pick, he put me on the side of God does not exist. And so
the devil is a liar.
It was set up.
Veto.
We're telling some things, but
wow.
Yeah. So by the end of that class, I did not believe in God. I did not believe in the God of the Bible or the faith that I grew up in. It's so interesting because he had us write down at the beginning of the class what we believed.
This is literally the movie. Go ahead.
I actually haven't seen the movie. This is the funny part.
I've seen it a long time ago, so maybe the plot is different. But
so he did. He had us write it down. And then we're going to write again at the end of the year. He's going to give us what we wrote at the beginning. So it was two different things. I still had faith in the beginning. It was just, I had a lot of questions. By the end of that class, it was like, I'm absolutely sure.
Wow.
Like, there is not a God, you know?
What did that for you?
I don't know. I think I love science. Like, I really do. Like, that's always been something that I've been interested in. I think it was a lot of hurt. I think there was just the hurt of like, I think I just wanted that to be like.
So was it easier to believe that God didn't exist than he would allow so much suffering and pain? Wow. Okay.
And I was like, and even got to a point where I'm like, okay, if God exists, maybe he's not a good God. You know, like these types of thoughts, like, okay, I can entertain, maybe there's something, but I did not in any way believe that God was a personal God or a God who I can know, you know. I just felt like God was maybe impersonal or something like that.
Now you're a campus missionary.
God is good. God is really good. Yeah. But after that, I was like, okay, what do I do now? Like, you know, and so I just kind of went down this, I was in school for nursing at the time. And I was like, I don't even know what I want to do with my life. I don't know who I am. Like, I was just like really struggling with like, I don't know what I like to do. I like science, but I also like, you know, I like the arts. Like, I like all kinds of things, you know, like, what do I actually do? And so people are actually shocked to hear this, but I failed a couple of my classes, like when I got into college.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had to take a lot of classes over, especially when it came time to go to respiratory school.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had to take.
Is that like a master's program, postgrad?
So you do 2 years of like.
Oh, it's like an associate's.
Yeah, and then you do the 2 years of the actual like focus, like kind of like nursing school.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. And so where was I? Let me try to think.
You had to retake a couple courses.
Okay, yeah, retake a couple courses. So yeah, I'm just struggling through college. I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing in my life. And so I think it was maybe in my I call it my senior year, but it was my fourth year. I had continued 2 more years. But in my fourth year, I was like, I have to, like, there's still these questions that I had. What is truth? Like, you know, what is true? Like, you know, if I don't believe this anymore, what is true?
Like in an ultimate sense.
Yeah, like what is true? And so I kept telling myself, you're going to go on this journey to figure out what is truth, because I'm someone who loves to research. I love, like, it's natural for me. So I'm like, I'm going to seek and find what is true.
Do you think that's a desire that everybody has? Or do you think maybe some people feel that more?
The desire
to like seek and find what's true.
I think I originally felt like people felt that way, like just from an objective point of view. But I actually asked someone one time who's not a believer. Like, after I became, like, I said, "Do you ever think about God?" And they were like, "No, I don't." Like they don't think about like these philosophical questions, which I thought was so interesting, because I'm like, I don't know if this is something that. I mean, I know I had these questions. People around me had these questions, but I felt like people had their answers. And maybe, you know, in that moment, that person maybe had their answer, right? You know, in some sort of way. Because
it's interesting, because it seems like a lot of people don't wrestle until their worldview gets disrupted, which would make sense with your story, with what you experienced with your brother. And
I think so. That's a good.
Interesting. Sorry, I derailed you a little bit.
No,
please continue.
No, that's fine. And so, yeah, I was like, okay, I want to find what's true. And so I just started looking online. I don't even know what I searched, but it led me to this book called The Power of Now by this guy named Eckhart Tolle. Have you ever heard of that?
I've heard of it. Okay. I have not read it.
Well, it resonated with me at the time because in the book, he talked a lot about suffering and pain and how we have all these thoughts and how the thoughts are not, we often associate ourselves with those thoughts, but we are not our thoughts. And so basically, the only thing that really exists is now. So like basically your memories or things you're thinking about in the future, they don't exist. Like you're just, it's now. It's
like Ecclesiastes without the God part.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. So like the goal is like meditation, like, allow, these thoughts to come and go, but like be present in the now. But the goal was to escape the pain. So at the time, it was like, I want to escape the pain that I'm experiencing. Yeah. This is great. Like, like if I have practical ways that I can do this, this is great. And so
it's very pragmatic.
Yeah, it's very, practical things to do, which I don't know if I talked to you about this before, but I'm also someone who I learn very easily, like theoretical things, but it's harder in practice. So when I went to respiratory school, I was at the top of my class, but I really struggled at first, like in practicum. So I have a lot of book smart sometimes. It's like, okay, how do I apply this to my life?
I feel that.
Yeah. So it felt like, okay, I have some tools to kind of help me. And so I think it was in that book where he gave other resources. And I think
so it was like the gateway book for you.
It was like, woo, yeah. So I got these other books, and I don't even know what like some of the ones after that, but I found myself then reading a lot about different Eastern spirituality. So Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, a lot of that. And then even mysticism, like Western, like mysticism, Christian mysticism, occultism, like all the
isms.
All the isms. Yeah. And so I got to this point where I was like, okay, like I think in the combination of reading all these things, and it's crazy because we talk about, I talk about how I came out of New Age, but when I was doing all of these things, or even like going down this path, like I didn't consider like what I was doing. I didn't actually call it like,
right.
It was just like, I am finding truth. Like, I'm on this path of self-discovery.
You're searching.
Yeah, I'm searching.
And it sounds so innocent too.
Yeah.
Like a path of truth, a path of self-discovery, trying to better yourself, escape some suffering. That sounds pretty natural. Yeah.
So in the meantime, I'm finishing up respiratory school, but I have some really crazy experiences in respiratory school. So it's like I meet someone else who is also aware of a lot of these practices and this idea of taking things from different religions and being able to kind of like we talked about before, it's like a buffet of things, like a buffet of beliefs. I can take something from this, from Hinduism. I can take something from Buddhism. I can take something, from Christianity. I believed in Jesus at the time, I just didn't think, Jesus was God, but, there are just, it was just anything that I felt like would contribute to my self-discovery, I would use it. And so, there are just a lot of things that I began to experience. I think that's what kind of kept me going down that path.
Interesting.
So when you practice these different things, when you do these different things that are being suggested, you actually have real experiences that come with that. And of course, I didn't understand. I'm just like, this is happening. This is what they said would happen. It is happening,
it feels like that story of like breadcrumbs and kids going through the forest.
Yes. Yeah. That's kind of like what it was. Yeah.
And I mean, as you're sharing, it probably didn't feel that way at the time, but as I'm hearing you share, it sounds a little bit self-serving, just about me and what can I discover. And
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's that idea that a lot of people want power. Like, they want to, they feel like they haven't had power, like at any point in their life. but to be able to now, I have something that I can do about this situation. So I am
Interesting.
use these tools. And so,
and it's not too different than like even something like greed, but it's what tools are you going to use to exalt yourself? Okay.
No, that's good. Yeah.
Man.
And so after respiratory school, my life was changed dramatically again because I thought I would stay in the city that I was at, with the people out, because that's where I feel like a lot opened up in the city. Like I'll just say I was in Augusta, Georgia at the time. And so there was just a lot that started to unfold within my journey of finding myself. So I got into crystals, like crystal healing. Like I used to use crystals for protection. I used to use crystals for, astral projecting, like, which is basically like coming out of my body and going somewhere else. And then I would use them for just, protection, just different things I would use them for depending on like what the crystal was. And then I got into tarot cards and reading tarot.
Sorry, pause for a second. I can hear somebody being like, well, you did what, Stephanie?
Yeah.
You came out of your body?
Yeah.
You sure you're not dreaming?
Yeah, no. It is strange. To this day, it's like, I don't quite understand, but it happened to me one time when I was a kid. I wasn't trying to, but I was actually sleeping. And so I remember waking up, but I wasn't actually, like, I wasn't physically awake, but I remember seeing the room that I was in.
Wow.
And my mom was in the room vacuuming and she was like doing stuff in the room and I could see her, but I was like trying to talk and I couldn't talk, but I was like, I can see her. And so she looked at me and then I was like, did she not see my eyes open? Like, what's happening right now? And then, I actually woke up, like my body woke up and I was like, Mom, like, did you just, like, I asked her, did you just do X, Y, Z? She was like, yeah. She's like, how do you, like, I thought you were asleep. I was like, I was, like, I don't know. Like I was, but I had this awareness that I don't understand. Like my eyes were closed, but it's like, this is awareness. And I think experiences like that from childhood kind of contributed to these new things that I was experiencing.
Let me understand.
Wow, like, I've experienced this before. This is what this actually is. It's like, I just didn't come out of my body, like I'm just like in this awareness state. And so, with astral projection is very, very, again, I don't know how to explain it, but there were times where I would use crystals to enter into what I would consider, you would meditate or whatnot, and to enter into the state where you could easily astral project. And it's like your consciousness goes to a different place. So you can go to different rooms, you can go to different places and actually see different things, which I think it's been like, even in that whole process, or even, thinking about through those times, I would like ask people, hey, were you doing like, blah, 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 X, Y, and Z. And they'd be like, how you
So let's break it down a little bit because I mean scripture's pretty clear about things like that, but even just the theology of how is it even possible. I mean, my understanding, and please correct me, is that there's certain ways that God set up for us to be able to access him and also to be filled with his spirit in order to serve people. But of course, just like everything else, the enemy can take a good thing and distort it and make a perverted and corrupt version of it. And so that's kind of how I understand some of this is just like a counterfeit. But I mean, how do you see it?
I do see it as a counterfeit because I've, after, this whole like new age experience, I began to hear other people's stories of it. And what I found was, even in my experience, the things that even I felt more inclined to do within new age, I was actually gifted in, like when it came to
interesting.
God. So like, there are things like, some people call it seer, but I feel like God shows me a lot through dreams anyway. Like God speaks to me through dreams a lot. I see things, before they like happen sometimes. And so with that, it was like, okay, I'm going to use tarot cards to like help me like speak to spirits to then tell me. It's like a mediator. Like I have to get in contact with, different, spirits when it comes to like, even just like having a spirit guide. I have to like use them to help for them to tell me. Like,
okay, so let's break it down. So in Christian understanding, would you call that prophetic?
Yes.
So that means that would be like the Holy Spirit is giving you insight into spiritual things for his purposes. But I'm not as familiar with the tarot card. Tarot card. I mean, obviously. So it's like a similar thing?
Yeah, it's similar. And especially even more similar, I think, I feel like I used more so the crystals to connect me to my spirit. Well, at the time I said, these are my spirit guides. I would connect with actual spirits, and these spirits would have names and they would, show you things about yourself. Like one of the beliefs in New Age, which I took on, was the belief in reincarnation. And so there's some beliefs in like Taoism and things like that, where you reach this state of enlightenment. Yeah. And so that's what I was actually trying to reach.
Wow.
And so for me, it was like, well, if I don't reach it in this lifetime, like I'll reach it like in the next lifetime. And so
even just like a counterfeit hope.
A counterfeit hope. And so there were these times where these spirits would, say, hey, I want to understand like reincarnation. And I asked them to prove it. And this is the strangest thing. Like I had this one experience where I saw myself like in a cabin. And I like look down in my hands. They're like, I'm a white person. Like, it's like, I have to like in this experience, like they're showing me like a past life. And I'm like, and I know it's in the 1800s, and I'm like in the middle of the woods. I'm like some sort of like person that, I don't know. I'm just I'm like not like in the everyday life of things. I just have like, I'm chopping wood. Like I'm just like doing all these things, but I can see the inside of the cabin. Like I can see all these things. And I'm like, then I like come back to this place where I'm like, me. And I'm like, whoa, like, so you're having these real sorts of experiences. And it's like, okay, it made me think about my childhood. Okay, God, they said that God was this, but God never like, these are the thoughts that I'm having. But now in New Age, it's like, well, they said if I ask, if I do this, and now I'm like seeing things, I'm like experiencing things. And
it's so interesting too, because in the Gospels, it's like ask and you'll receive, seek and you'll find, knock, the door will be open to you. And that's Jesus inviting us to know him. But obviously like the counterfeit of that, I guess, works in a way, and they're giving evidence for this counterfeit narrative.
Yes.
So it's really scary. And I don't know. I'm thinking I've got the Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis actually up here. And one of the like often quoted lines when it comes to spiritual warfare is either have them be like super, this is not the actual quote, but like have them be super terrified of like the demonic, or make them think it doesn't exist at all.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes even in our churches, right, we can be the crazy charismatic Pentecostals or the people who are so scared of the crazy charismatic Pentecostals that we actually like, what's the word? Not poo-poo, but like poo-poo the spirit. You know what I mean? And so it's like, okay, we need to walk in a healthy understanding of walking with the Holy Spirit. But so later, as you look back and interpret some of those experiences, like who were those voices that were speaking to you? Like, what do you make of that?
I think for me, I think they're what they call familiar spirits. Like, I think that during that time, you see generational patterns, like in your family, even sometimes. I feel like in my family, I saw generational patterns, but it was almost like this time I am actually seeing what's behind it. But I didn't know that. I was like, I'm communicating with actually what's behind this like generational pattern. And so there's, there were just like times where they would just be like, we're your friend, like your friend, just the language of God, like, God is our friend, and I felt like that's why it is so, you can fall down into it, because it's like, there's a lot of truth, but then there's like slipping, like I'm going to slip in a little,
right.
Cause I mean, it'd be obvious, right? Like
it's very biblical. The true looks good to eat for wisdom, but what's the catch behind it? And
So, that's
yikes.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever get into like astrology and that type of thing? Okay.
I wasn't like really good. Like I knew like my charts. Like I wasn't like that great, like that good, but
Yeah.
I knew like there was a point where I sent you my old Instagram, but like I was so convinced because like, you know, in the horoscope, I would be considered a Cancer. And so,
and that slips into culture too, pretty commonly. Yeah.
And so Cancer is ruled by, one of the things Cancer is ruled by is the moon. And so I would like look up the phases of the moon and like, this is why like I am experiencing this right now. Or like, you know, Mercury's in retrograde. Like what does that even mean? Like why?
I don't know.
Like if they, like, even when I was working at the hospital, people were like, things would go wrong. They're like, Mercury's in retrograde. And I'm like, yeah, like Mercury's in retrograde. And it's like, at the time I like, didn't quite know what that meant, but I was like, it means something, like because like there's a pattern here, like you know. But
looking for meaning, looking for the why.
For meaning, and I think like you're asking that question before, like I think there may be like something within everybody. Like there's that scripture that where God says like God hides eternity in our hearts, and so I think there's this like a longing to get to a certain place, but we don't know like what that is until someone identifies that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
So I've got a few different thoughts in my mind, but you mentioned familial spirits, and I mean, some of this is debated, even amongst Christians, of if you're hearing voices, is it demons? Is it even just like inappropriate? And the word evil, it's technically like things distorted from their originated purpose. So is it evil usage like Saul, like practicing necromancy, which is like communicating with the dead? Yeah. And there's some people who believe that, which clearly is like wrong according to scripture. And I think some people even believe that like they're communicating with their grandma who passed away or something like that. And I think it's highly likely that that could be a demonic presence interpreting, pretending to be something in order to gain access, like you were saying, like a friend. And so I think it's just important to note that like all of this, whether it's using crystals or trying to practice necromancy or any of these things to go after something that's really from God in a way that's not prescribed by God is evil. And I think the main scripture that I think of when it comes to this comes from Romans 1, where it says they exchanged the truth of God for a lie and worshiped and served the created things rather than the creator who is forever praised. You know, because it's like robbing glory from the one who is glorious and ascribing it wrongly. So what's your take on some of these things? Tune back in next time to finish the conversation with Stephanie. Be blessed, family.